This is where the gas gets reactive, and that's something to it. And you want it, like when we take our, like a B3 apart, it's nice and bronze all the way across. That means every square inch of that plate is giving off gas. That's why it's more efficient, because it's giving off more gas. There's no holes. And so this is good and bad, but there's a way to, if you have holes, we did it before, and what we did, we put an isolation tube in here. We put a poly stiff plastic tube in here, and that slows the leakage down. And then where the plate hits in between the plate, we drill little tiny holes, and it lets the gas out, and then just the water, same at the bottom, that the water just has to seep in. And this nonsense of dry cell, wet cell, they're all wet and full of water. There's a difference between a sealed cell or a non-sealed cell. So this is a sealed cell. Bob's-in is a sealed, because what happens is when you hook the electricity up, it's got to force it. You got to force it to get without the holes. Let's say, ignore these holes. B3, they're all like this. So you want the electricity to bounce through every one of those negative plates to get to the other side. Then you're getting full gas coming off this thing. And like, it's so funny, Bob has my blender cell on the bench, and I'm watching it bubble away, and he's going, yeah, it makes a lot of white gas, but go do a liter per minute test with the B3 that Jerome made. And in drums, the B3, we used to have clear ones. And like what Maury King said, the bubbles, you can't even see them. They're all small, and it's not making any bubbles. And mine's bubbling away, all kinds of bubbles. And we did a liter per minute test, and the B3 got like 10 amps. It makes 1 liter per minute at around 10 amps when you run it and condition it. 10 or 12 amps made 1 liter a minute, and mine made like a third of that. Even though it looked like it was doing really good and all this white, it looked like mine was making twice as much visually in this clear filter housing. And then Jerome had a clear B3, and you couldn't even see what's going on in there. It looked like it was doing nothing. So it shows you how the gas pushes, when you do this method of Bob's, it pushes the gas off, and it's just forcing the next gas bubble off. And if you got tiny little holes in here, man, it'll push it right out. It'll find a way, and it'll just push off, and you just plug it in, and it goes, it's just, So that's why we ditched the clear education cell and went right to Bob's. Oh, can you flip to the next one, John? And that's what I got in here. Okay, this is just a way to show you how to make an isolation tube. You put the tube right here, you line them all up, and don't stagger the holes, just line them up, and you put little holes around the top, the gas out, and then on the bottom, we put them on the bottom. So let the water in, the gas out. And Bob didn't like that at first, and then we did some tests, and he goes, it's pretty good. It's because the gas is going through this hole now, and when it's isolated, it won't, the leakage is still there, but only a little bit. And then you got a little brown going on in black here, and this thing is all bronze, and it's nice and bronze. And then you know you're making. You want to build this up. It's got a catalytic layer. The next one. No, this is our plate. This is just exaggerated. I did this real quick. We grind the crap out of it with a belt sander. We use 20 to 30 grit when we build the cells, and we don't sand it where the gaskets go. We leave that blank, but. So it's the E-field. There's a whole study on this. Maury King he mentioned something about how it comes off the tip. And so you want to do is get rough sand it really good one way, and then you cross hatch it just really quickly going the other way. And you want to make mountains, and you want the tips to stick out. For some reason, the E-field has something to do with the gas coming off the tip. I don't know what that is. It's not in the valley. It's in the tips where all the gas is coming off. And also, this rough surface allows a catalytic layer to build. And Bob calls he doesn't even call it electrolysis, he calls it catalysis, which is a different process of chemicals and building this layer. He focuses on building this up, and what's building up on this layer is what's mysterious when you're doing the 2-volt system. It's bronze colored, is it gold, is it platinum, is it like David last night mentioned that, is it hydrogen gold, what's it making? So I don't know. When you start building this orange layer, then your cell gets even more efficient. And these cells will last a lifetime. They don't road the electrode at 2 volts. The plate won't rarely move metal. Your water will stay clear. You won't have red anode mud because you're not cooking the electrode. And you can use 304s. I've sat with 304, and it's still, a lot of people think it's a stainless quality, and it isn't. And the reason why we use 316L is because it's non-magnetic. So when you set the electricity up the first time, it pulls a polarity, it makes its own polarity. And so that's one way to that's why we use non-magnetic stainless, and then it can take the water and it won't rust, and so that's okay. That's it for the pictures there. I was going to say, okay, and then also the plastic that we use on our plate has a lot to do with it. Like people wonder, why do you use plexiglass? Because it looks cool? No, because the dielectric properties are really good. You have to have plastic hydrogen wants to absorb into everything. It'll absorb into all the plates. It won't absorb into this plexiglass, which is acrylic. And we used, at first he didn't like HPDP plastic, but then he approved that after a while. And so we use that too. And then you can use nylon, and you got to use plastic that won't get rusted by the lye attacks it too. You got to, and whatever you use, don't use Lexan. That'll crack up, and that's no good. Lexan's no good. So it's poly, nylon, and acrylic plexiglass. And I was going to talk here. Excuse me, here I got my notes here. I said most everything. Okay, and I'm kind of, the reason why I'm doing this lecture to be open source, to move it on to the next person, because Bob did a lot of work, and we experimented and did what he said, and we get gains on the cars, and they do better over in foreign countries. Let me go back to the levels of gas again. Okay, when you make the plates, like I said, we have a conditioning method. I can't show you how to do that, but you cleanse it. I cleanse it for a couple of days. I just run it on the bench for a while, and then I ship them out because, and we have we tune the PWM to the cell, and when you make this kind of gas, it sticks to the carbon. It's a static form of gas, and then we can't have any metal. It's got to come out to the tube, goes to the dryer, and you can't put any metal fittings. Everything's got to be inert, non-conductive. And so, because you can discharge the gas, and even if you have some trucks have a metal filter, and you got to poke the hole. This gas has to mix with the air, and what it does, it mixes with the air coming in, and the air becomes a dielectric and holds it up. So it mixes, this orthohydrogen mixes with the gas coming in, and then when it hits the hydrocarbon, it bonds to it. It marries the hydrocarbon, and it just blows that hydrocarbon chain apart, and that's how it gets such clean emissions, better than anything the government can come up with. And they don't like this because there's no money in it for them. They did give my friends Central Valley. We're licensed for Bob Boyce, and so is Central Valley. My friends from Modesto, California. David mentioned them yesterday, and they've done really good. They have investors and some and money involved, and as me and Jerome are small time, and they had investors. They tried to go through CARB, California Air Emissions Board, to get approval, and they got a sticker. They got EO, and this one guy. Mark Danzy from Australia, he's another guy that goes around, and he says singing about Bob. He goes, oh, that's another guy. That guy knows the most about everything. He got a grant from Australian University to come to check out HHO. He went around the world, and so he's a dyno lab technician, and a consultant, and he tried hundreds of cells. He's seen them all, these hundreds of hydrogen cells at the dyno labs, and then he saw Scott's and Jen from Central Valley, and he goes, God, these guys have something different here. And they were following Bob, and they got good gains, and so theirs works correctly. And the guys at the dyno labs are going, oh, this is pretty good. You even took the NOx emission out. No one does that. So it's all from making this sticky clinging gas. So the reason why I'm mentioning all this, because people call me up, and there's all these hydrogen companies making the junk, and they go, how come it don't work? And it's giving HHO a bad name. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's like catch Russian roulette. You get one customer working, the other guy don't get nothing. So I just tell the person, try the Volo if that works. You got the master computer. Unless you got a carbureted, I love carbureted cars. I try to sell them to the hot rod guys, and they just look at you like, it's funny. So you got with HHO, you got a bleacher full of skeptics. So I just like to, what one can I convince today? So I go to the car show in our town. We're by the beach, and so they come and they park the car, and I just go talk to them. I've done it a couple times. I pass all my cars, and I haven't got one sold yet, so I gave that up. But there's a few people I put the hydrogen on carbureted, and like a lot of farmers. When I first started, I worked with a lot of farmers and carbureted. They're out in the middle of Nebraska. There's no mechanics around. You got to learn to be your own mechanic. You don't expect no one to come out here. you gotta fix everything yourself. So I like those guys. Those were my customers when I first started, because when I didn't have the Volo, I couldn't tell people you're gonna get gains. So I dealt with the farmers first with their stuff and tractors. I had them on tractors, and carbureted, you get like 30% better, like right off the bat. So, and modern cars are around 20%. It depends if the Volo works. Like my one good friend I know for 30 years, Ted, we put one on his Toyota Tundra, and it didn't get any gains because it's a computer. And we put the Volo on, it didn't match the computer. So we just took it off, and then he was gonna put on a Sprinter van he bought. But he's got a 2015 Sprinter van he pulls up in, and so I asked Volo, and they thought, we don't have a circuit for that one. And they got that the DEF on there. It's called the DEF, diesel exhaust emission. That's what they put on the trucks in California. And what it does, it instead of completing the burn in the cylinder, it's so simple, the water, they put their catalytic converter, they went with that technology, because the oil companies own all their friends or buddies they make the converters, and what it does, it just burns it again, and then they stick it under the shotgun seat to the truckers, and then one truck, that's my next one is, one truck a day catches on fire because of those things. And they're requiring them on all the trucks. They take the old truckers, and there's guys these old truckers, like small truckers, they're their own mechanic, and where's my next one here? Oh yeah, this is the one here. This is kind of negative, but part of my display, but it's kind of blurry, but you go this Robert Exter, go to YouTube, type in Robert Exter. And this guy, Fred Kelly, is an EPA lawyer, and CARB is ruining the economy of California, one truck at a time. And they pick the small guys first. They go up to Redding, and they just say, you got smog in here, and you're not running in. You go talk to a trucker, watch them get mad. And one trucker, his own mechanic, and he has it so clean, it's below their emissions standards. I go, why do I have to have your filter on there? Look how clean it is. No, you have to have the filter. Well, look how clean it is. I clean my truck, I run it, I maintain it. You got to put the filter on it. That's what's compliant. And all it does is heat it up at the bottom, and it doesn't clean it up as good as Scott and Jen's study does. But they gave them an EO sticker, so they got their sticker, but it doesn't allow you to replace the filter. It just says, the truckers, when I have Hydrant Trucker, they called me up for weeks going, can I replace the filter? Those are 20 grand, and the Central Valley one's 10 grand. It comes in a box all ready to go. You just mount it. So they can actually put them on there now. So they've took a step ahead, but they wanted to go ahead, next step further, going, can we replace the filter? So that's what you guys should pray. We should pray that they'll allow the hydrant to take over and get rid of that stupid filter that burns the trucks. Like, look at this one, truck catches on fire. I watched this for a week one day, and I just listened to all these, and I was just like, it just got me. I just couldn't watch it out anymore. There's testimony after testimony. This trucker lost his trucking industry, lost his house. This guy, I forget, I can't even read it, but it was a couple of weeks ago. I watched all these, and God bless this guy, Fred Kelly, EPA lawyer. He wants to we got to get rid of this CARB thing. I don't know. But you know what it is? It's connected to the top of the pyramid. The eye on the pyramid, that's not God's eyes. That's an imposter, if you know what I mean. And so it goes right up to, so I put them in the same category as chemtrails and Monsanto CARB. I don't know, well, maybe they can comply. So I'm complying, like I asked Bob, they told Bob, don't make a water car, we'll take you out by the knees, the FBI told him. So he goes, how can we comply? We'll make a booster, and you can make gen sets. So no one's ever approached me on the thing. My site's been hacked many times. You can tell they're like watching me and everything, we got to watch these kids. But we're the 99% topsider club. That's what I call us, and it's good that we're a team. So people that are interested in free energy, I don't know, I just felt in my heart to do this, and I felt led. Those carrots dangling in front of me, I go, I could try this hydrant. If t-shirts ain't working, so our t-shirt market got bought up by a big conglomerate, came along and bought up all their concessions, so that t-shirt market went dead, so I had to make I worked myself for 30 years, and so I didn't go to college, so I went surfing instead. And surfing's for people who don't work, but it was a fun time as a kid, but so I would recommend watching Robert Exter. He did a good job. This is another typical thing. Look at the counts, 40, 50. This is one of those YouTube sites where the count don't go up. Wow, how's that? It should be 20,000, 30,000. Oh, it stays at 15, 10. Oh, you go to their site to donate $20. So I went to go donate about 3 times, and I tell the guys, your donate button don't work. And they go, it works fine. It didn't work, so it makes something's fishy going on with that. Sorry about talking about that, but what else I got here? Okay, now Bob's into plate cells. I like tube cells. And so I'm giving this away today. Works really good. I like it, but Bob don't like the tubes. He goes, his complaint is, well, they're not spaced correctly. He's entraining the molecules, and it has something to do with the spacing being exactly the same. And every one of those cells have to be sealed, and you can't have any leakage. He calls it 12-volt leakage. Now, 12-volt leakage took me a couple of months to wrap around my head. It means that you don't want 12 volts. You want all the volts to be 2 volts only, or 1 volt, whatever the voltage is. You want every electron to be at 1 volt, all of them. So when you have this one, so I put down here, each volt is different. You got 2, you got 2.4, and he goes, that ain't gonna work. Dude, you're not gonna make a high quality gas because they're not all entrained the same. And so, but you know what, this is like a Joe cell. You ever heard of the Joe cell, Oregon Energy? You look that up. That's an Australian thing, down under. And the Joe cell's so funny, it's not a electrolysis cell, it's an energy device, and it runs, these guys claim it runs a car, Joe X. There's one guy wrote a book, I've talked to one guy, and he goes, dude, I know it works, but it's real finicky. I don't know why it works one day. And it's similar to this, but the Joe cell, say, I seal this at the bottom. I'll say, that's my spacer, and anybody can do this. I start off with 5-inch in 4.5, 3, 3.5, 2, and I put 7 on there. Same thing with the plates. This is my negative, positive on the outside. You got to put positive on the outside when it comes to a tube. If the Joe Cellular is positive on the outside, if you flip the polarity and put the negative on the outside, it doesn't work as well. And you don't even have to pulse this for some reason. I think it has something to do with the circles. It collects longitudinal energy. And I think longitudinal energy, like magnets, why does a magnet keep going? Like you charge a screwdriver and you pick up screws, and a year later it's still working. I think longitudinal energy is keeping that thing. What's a magnet? It's like it's got one extra electron, and then it's got like a gear. It just keeps going. It has something to do with longitudinal energy is attracted to magnets, and the plates in the cell do the same thing. The positive, negative. It's collecting a magnetic energy. And so longitudinal energy is magnetic. I think longitudinal energy attracts to it. And that's from my art brain. Artists can see the future. They see things, but when it comes, like I have a friend who's a scientist. He's really funny. We just butt heads all the time. But you have to prove everything through the scientific method. There's always proof in the end. You got to go to the dyno, or blow up the bags, or do a liter per minute test. There's always scientific data at the end. But the vision's kind of nice at and so, okay, this one you seal it at the bottom. You get discs and you glue it into a marine goop. Now there's this glue called marine goop. You can get it at the hardware store, and it's slide proof. It doesn't get wrecked. It dries. You can rip it out later. It's really good glue. We've tried hundreds of glue, and we went back to the hardware store. So you glue the plates in, and my friend welds the bottom on. He has these discs, these 5-inch discs, and he welds it on the bottom. Like here's the bottom of it. So I got my stainless steel guy. He welds the bottom, and then I put a bolt, and then I call it my 7-tube trucker cell because this works good. And you pulse it, it even does it more. And if you add the chokes, it even makes it. When you add those chokes, I'm not supposed to show you my oscilloscope. We use an analog scope, and we watch the wave when we hook it up, and we watch the spikes go down. And most engineers will tell you, oh yeah, get rid of that spike. Yeah, you don't want that to wreck your electronics, so take that off. And then Bob goes, no, you want that. You got to add that to it and make quality gas. So this one works good. You can make it for a torch. This is my most efficient cell on the bench. I have one of these on my bench because when I test stuff, I just leave it on there. And, for running, for a generator. And here's my 6-pack cell. I ran out of time, but this is my idea. You see 2 volts, 12 volts, and you get 2 volts, 2 volts, 2 volts, 2 volts, 2 volts. And all it is like Stan Mars. It's 2 tubes, but I have them in such a way that they're only the water is in between here. It's not in a big bath. See, a big 1-bath system like my clear education cell, the electrons can just go anywhere they want. They just start bucking. They don't know which way. They're just bouncing around. That's why it's making such a white gas. They're all excited, and they're what do I do? Positive, negative? What do I do? The electrons, the whole thing's all excited. When you can train the gas to go one way or the other, see this is not a 1-bath system. This is a sealed system, and it's wet. It's not dry. So we were talking about the wet cell, dry cell. Doesn't really mean anything. I don't know. Like the gel cell in the batteries. I see what they're trying to say. But let's say, so what I did is insulate the inside with the like PVC tubing or Plex tubing, and that could be your water reservoir inside, and just a little hole where it'll seep at the bottom to get the water in here. You just want the water to fill, and then the gas goes up, and then and it's daisy chains, like so you have negative down here, and they're positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, to evenly get you the 2 volts. And this way, like Bob says, well, this system, all your voltages are going to be the same. It ain't going to be like the concentric tube where it's going to be different. He kind of liked he didn't know. He goes, well, we'll make one and see what happens. So I never got to the point where I made one day and then I just stopped the project. I get too busy. So this is something I can give away to everybody. You want to try it, If I'm giving it away today, I guess you can't patent it, right? If you give this, I don't know how you do that. If you give it up to the public, and then they can't patent over it. So go for it. But you can put them in any configuration. I thought it'd be good for a motorcycle or those 3-wheel motorcycles in India. They call me up, and there's more of those, and they have more 3-wheel motorcycles than we do cars over here. And they're all like 200, 300 cc engines. So I thought it'd be good to put one of these. And you only need to run a couple of amps. When you have our pulsing, like most competitors are running like a V8 engine, they tell you to put 25 amps, 30 amps. We're only running like 10 or 15. And as we go along, as our cells get better and better, we're only running like 10 amps. And because we're making the gas that sticks to the carbon. And also, we're not pre-detonated the engine. If you put too much parahydrogen in an engine, it pre-detonates it, and you have to change the timing. And unless you take the whole computer out of the car, which most people don't do that, then you can add like 10 liters or 15 liters, like put a trucker cell in there, put 10 or 15 liters, and then change the and then you can change the timing of the engine. Then you can get like 100% better mileage. But I don't know. It's see what I got here. So this, I just call it the 6-pack because there's, a case of beer. Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, this is Buddy's fuel vapor system, and Buddy's here today, and he's over here. Anyways, Buddy put this up. I worked with him. He's been doing this for like 10 years, and he's out in Texas, and he's getting gains with this. So we sell this at like $149, and he gets, some kids are getting 30% better mileage with this, and if you have 90 Volo, add the Volo to it, and then make sure the Volo's working. Some cars it works, something doesn't. I got a list on my site of which cars it works and which don't work. And so it comes with it. You put the gas in here, so it's safe. So you have your own, because the gas can heat up, so it doesn't go back to your gas tank. And I don't know if Buddy wants to come up here and talk about it. What, 10 minutes?
10 minutes till Q&A.
To the end?
Q&A.
Oh, should I close it off?
10 minutes to Q&A.
Okay. Okay. I don't know if Buddy wanted to talk about this at all, or?
You talk.
Okay.
You're doing great.
Okay. So people, he said people don't believe him. They get 30% better mileage, and this doesn't take you long to hook up. Like our hydrogen cells take like all day to hook up. As I can hook them up faster, but people had never done it before, and we give you instruction and tell you how to do it. And the reason why I did parts, Bob liked it when he met me. He goes, "You're selling parts. They can't come after you because it goes in the hands of the driver. The law goes, and you're driving the car, and you're driving on the U.S. highway, and no one's really been." I haven't had a customer get a fine, but they might start doing it today. I don't know how they work, But no one, just don't tell anybody. I go do the stealth install. Now in California, they go to a smog place. Yeah, you have to take it out. I used to have a smog guy I used to go to, and he told me I can't go back there anymore. So, or you just don't tell them, and then put it under the bumper. But yeah, I don't know. That's the only bummer about California. You got to go through the smog test. Some states don't have that, and especially these other countries. I like working in the foreign countries because. Like Colombia, we're working with them for a while until most people like buy our cells one time, we never see them again. So we don't care if you buy a cell, take it all apart and see how we made it. Because people go online and they go, oh, this guy Bob seems to know his stuff. So they buy one and we don't care. I mean, I'm trying to get this out because we're an army of people. If you just have one guy, usually I'm giving this out today. If they take out Bob, they take out Scott from Central Valley and take out me, and then where does it go? It goes into, So if I spent 7 years doing this, tinkering with these in the garage all the time and selling them for a business, then I want to give it up. I'm not a proprietary thinker. I'm more open source, and there's a million cars to go. There's money for everybody. So that's my thinking. Okay, here's how Buddy hooks it up. Here's a diagram, and he's got it heated up here with the aluminum coil. And he's got a little needle valve in here, and just a little bit of gas goes in here, and you put this, you run gas in this. He's got one now where he's trying to run it only on this, so he's messing around with his car right now, and he's getting really good gains. I was impressed by what he showed me. And this is just a simple one to get started. And you know, if you want to buy it and make it and copy it, he don't care either. He's like me, you know. It's just a real simple. We give you instructions, and here's it hooked up to the engine. And this is one of the first ones. He's on generation 5, I think he is done. Yeah, 4. And and then the guys that get the best gains do vaporizing plus HHO. So you can just keep going with saving the gas. And now that's just for doing the cars. In the foreign countries too, with Bob's gas, like Gensets in like northern Africa, they have their fuel is less refined. So if you find a country with less refined fuel, it works better. Like Bob said, when he was leaded gas back in when we were 60s, he would get like 100% better mileage. He was all stoked making these boosters. And then as soon as got leaded gas, then there's less carbon. They took the carbon out at the plant. It's still smog in the air, but they took that, so it's not less coming out of your tailpipe. And I think, another thing about I should mention back, I got 10 minutes here. It's part of the story. Okay, I almost just reminded myself. Back to the carb thing. You know, the one guy does, he does gensets. They put generators and they test the smog coming out of the generator, and they do it in the ceiling. They put the equipment up in the ceiling to see what's coming out of the generator. So one day he put a truck in there and see what this DEF system, filter system does, and he said every chemical is coming out of that thing. That thing doesn't do anything. It takes the black carbon off the flake, off the pipes, and it makes it clear. And there's something in the fuel now that makes the smog clear. Like in the 90s when I went to LA, Los Angeles, it was like the end of the world, it was all dark. And then now there's more cars now, but it's clear. They have a chemical that makes it clear, so you don't see it so much, but it's all there. When it was leaded fuel, it was 13 carcinogenic chemicals coming out the exhaust pipe. Now there's like 25, because they got the urea, which is an acid, and they got aluminum now. Now they put aluminum in all the jet fuel and all the fuel because it burns more efficiently. So now we're breathing aluminum oxide. That's why I put them with the chemtrail category, because, and you know what? It makes it down to nano size, and it goes past the filter, which is only 1 micron. So their sniffer does no good. It's not sniffing nothing. It's just sniffing. You just can't see it. And the pipes are clean. So the truckers go, yeah, it seems to work. The pipes are clean. In the old days, if they let the trucks be alone and let that black flake come out of the truck, it goes to the ground after a while and settles. This stuff goes up, and today it's in nano size. Now it's harmonized. It's in the air floating around, and it's easier to breathe in. So take a big breath. So that doesn't make no sense to me. So if you had HHO and complete the burn, that's the way to go. And then you can, the whole giant industry of making hydrogen cells, a lot of jobs, and get carb out of California. And then, because everything touches a truck, your food, everything. So when they start in California, they want to do carb all through the United States. And they're putting DEF, Bob was right, they put a DEF on that guy's Sprinter van. I can't put a cell on there. I mean, I'm not going to, he was under warranty, so my friend Ted, I didn't want to put the cell on his car, so I gave him his money back. But I sell to the next guy, and I give the people their money back. But I got 4 minutes, but that's about it for I don't want to end it with a bad note, but I just sell all the generators that run in Africa, they have generators running the town with the power, and they get 25, 50% reduction